Okay, so UFC 283 is in the books. A lot went on inside the cage, outside the cage, on the way to the cage, on the way out of the cage. It was all happening at UFC 283. So I'm going to run through the highlights for me, the biggest takeaways, who people should fight next, that sort of thing. Plus, one of the funniest memes that I've seen that I wish I'd seen before the fights, to be fair, but that'll all make sense when you see the meme itself. So let's crack on. So UFC 283, you had some really standout performances. My biggest takeaways from this event was look out for Bruno Ferreira. Now, he was the guy who was fighting Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop. It's quite a tough fight for a debut to the UFC, but Ferreira was unbeaten, a lot of knockouts on his record, and he added one more in spectacular fashion. His striking just looked on point. Just the shot that he caught him with was just a lovely short left hand. It was right on the button, and Rodriguez was starched. He was out cold. And considering Rodriguez's nickname is RoboCop, I think that Bruno Ferreira should now adopt the moniker Ed209. Because, okay, look, whilst I know that in the film RoboCop, that spoiler alert, if you haven't seen RoboCop, skip this bit. But obviously, you know, RoboCop gets Ed209 in the end, but only with the help of that giant, like, kind of cannon sniper rifle thing. When they went toe-to-toe, RoboCop kind of got his ass handed to him. So I like the nickname Ed209 for Bruno Ferreira. That's a good one. Jailton Almeida crushes another can. All due respect to Abdulrahmanov. No, it's not Abdulrahmanov. Shit. Shamarakna. I forget his name. Either way, he got crushed. He's always getting crushed. He's a can. Jailton Almeida, look, he needs to upgrade from cans to hobos at some point, doesn't he? Because this dude is just battering everybody that they put in front of him. I do notice that Alexander Romanov is next up in the rankings. That, they might not want to do that one just yet, because Romanov's a kind of a phenom in his own right. So you want to keep these phenoms away from each other so that you can at least make it a fight night main event, get the maximum juice out of that lovely orange of a fight that you can. Just get all the juice, all the pulp out of it. So, I don't know, maybe even, who else is in heavyweight? There's Sergey Spivak. So, Spivak fights Lewis next. Give him the winner of Spivak and Lewis. There you go, job done. Other fights that we saw, Jamal Hill was spectacularly good. That's all I want to say. Like, let's not take anything. The toughness of Teixeira cannot be questioned, because he took an absolute beasting. There were still moments where Teixeira looked like he might be able to win that fight, but look, Jamal Hill, let's just congratulate the new champion first and foremost. Jamal Hill setting a new record in significant strikes in the light heavyweight division. He showed great grappling as well, to be fair, because he was tested in that regard, and just superb show of skill in the striking and the ability to keep the fight where he needed it against a very, very good opponent. Congratulations to you, Jamal Hill. And also, had Brandon Moreno, fantastic all round. The knuckle to the eye was perfect. That was perfectly legal. It's just a great shot. Sometimes they land those great, because he thought it was an eye poke. It wasn't. It was a knuckle, and that is all good in Love, War, and UFC. A knuckle to the eye is perfectly fine. Jessica Andrade had a really good session on the heavy bag. It was nice to see her have that good training session for 3 rounds. Oh, Lauren Murphy. Oh, that was not a good one. So my biggest takeaways overall from the event as a whole is, number one, the commentators, they need to stop using, man, this guy, this girl is so tough, as code for they are getting their asses handed to them, because that's what that is code for. Anytime they're saying, wow, you've got to be impressed with the toughness of Lauren Murphy here, it's like, it's not that impressive. She's a heavy bag at this point. She's a heavy bag, and she's been treated like one. This fight needs to stop. Same with, look, Teixeira, loved the guy. He got used as a heavy bag as well for most of that fight. There were still like a moment in the 5th round where he got top position. I was thinking, holy crap, is Glover about to pull this one out of the bag? But then I thought, does he even want to pull this one out of the bag? Because, look, he's been battered for this whole fight. If he finds a win at this point, he's going to have to defend that belt again. He's going to take more punishment. Maybe it'll be better for him to just lose this one and retire. Luckily, that's what happened in the end. So, and yeah, however, the Lauren Murphy fight, I think that one should have been stopped. I think there was an argument to say that fight, the first 2 rounds were 10-7s. That's how vicious of a beating it was. It was so one-sided. And I'm not even blaming the ref in this regard. I think that the corner has a responsibility to their fighter to throw the towel in when they can see they have had enough. If you are waiting for that fighter to acknowledge, to say that they are not capable of winning this fight and that they don't want to be in there anymore, that's never going to happen. The corner has to take that responsibility. You might be unpopular with your fighter for a short amount of time before they realise, you know what, you probably saved me from some further brain damage in that one. Thank you. Live to fight another day. The corner has to take on that responsibility, in my opinion. And I think that Murphy's corner should have done that. People keep saying, oh no, but it's onto the ref. The referees have enough to worry about without having to worry about kind of taking on the corner's responsibilities as well. Do you know what I mean? They're looking out for eye pokes, fence grabs, all this good stuff. Do you know what I mean? Don't put that burden on them as well. The corners need to step up. If your fighter is just taking unnecessary damage, you need to step in. That towel needs to go in. You need to change the culture. The culture seems to be, they're tough, they just need to tough it out. No. A fighter's never going to acknowledge that they're not capable of winning the fight. They're always going to say they're fine. The corner needs to take that burden off them, so they can at least say, well, I wanted to fight, because that's probably going to be part of it. In their heads, a lot of the time they probably think, Jesus, I'm getting battered out here. I wish my corner would just tell me that this is over and then we can go back to the drawing board. But I don't want to be on camera saying, yeah, I want to quit. Like, a fighter's never going to want to do that. It's just, yeah, corners, step in. Daniel Cormier needs to stop talking about how well a fighter is rolling with those punches, because whether he's rolling his head slightly or not, he is still taking the most significant shots, a record number in a fight for that weight class. The judges are not looking at how well he's rolling with those punches. He's just absorbing punishment. Stop saying it is such a positive thing. Oh yeah, I mean, he's taken 56 punches to the dome in this round, but whoa, he rolled with every single one of them, so they only cut him up pretty bad. The impact was, his face was a mess. It looked like he'd been murdered. Just look, stop it. Just stop. I know you've got to say these things, but it's just a bit ridiculous when he's absorbing that many strikes and you're trying to argue, oh, well, it's a good thing though, because look, he's rolling with all of them. It's like, he is taking a beast in, dude. Like, rolling or not, his face is an absolute car crash. Stop. Just stop it. And also, I would like to say that with regards to probably a subsection of the Brazilian fans that night, Colby Covington was completely right. You were disgusting, disgraceful, disrespectful animals, and it was just such a bad showing, especially after the Figueiredo Brandon Moreno fight, because you guys were not throwing things at Moreno because he beat Figueiredo. You were throwing things at him because you didn't appreciate the nationality of the guy that won, because he wasn't Brazilian. That ain't a good look. And let's stop pretending that it's okay, because it isn't. Right? If that was done in America, you'd have called that racist. But because it's in Brazil, apparently it's fine. Because they weren't throwing stuff at him for any other reason than he wasn't Brazilian. That was the only reason. And it wasn't the whole crowd. It was a subsection of the crowd that has made the whole audience look bad. But man, they made them look bad. And I think that that's a terrible look for MMA fans. Booing is fine. Boo all you want. Look, I understand it's a pantomime. I've been part of that myself when I've been to see fights. I saw Bisping versus Henderson 2 in Manchester. When Henderson walked out, you better believe he got the booing of a lifetime, because it's a pantomime at that point. We've got our hometown guy, you're the American coming in to try and knock our hometown guy out. We will boo the hell out of you. But there's still a level of respect there, and you saw that after the fight as well, because when Dan Henderson retired, actually everyone started cheering him, and he said, where was this like when I was walking down to the fight? It's like, Dan, don't expect us to cheer you when you're walking down, mate. The fight's done now, but we still respect you as a legend of the sport. So obviously we'll cheer you at this point when you're retiring from said sport, because obviously as MMA fans we acknowledge you're a legend and a pioneer. And as well as throwing stuff at Brandon Moreno, the Brazilian fans couldn't even stick around to watch their legend, Glover Teixeira, Brazilian native, retire. They couldn't even stick around for that. Where were you guys? Do you know what I mean? Like an absolute legend of the sport. Your countryman is putting his gloves down in the octagon, and you don't even have the respect to stick around and actually be there to support him in that moment. And also the fact that Glover Teixeira had to ask, please don't throw things at my opponent on his way back to the locker room, because all he did was come in here and do his job. He was a great fighter, we put on a great show, please don't throw things at him. The fact that he has to ask that is a problem. That is not a good look for that subsection of the Brazilian fan base there that night, who were disrespectful, disgraceful behaviour, and Colby Covington was right. So, let's move on to something a bit more cheery. I wish I had seen this on the lead up to the fight, because I did not. But because it doesn't really play after the fight, because she took a real beating. But I'll pop it up here. On the way into the fight, Lauren Murphy. I came to Brazil to do two things: smoke meth and beat up lesbians, and I'm all out of meth. You see, it's just because I find that fake, because look, right, in the nicest possible way, if someone was to put up a picture of Lauren Murphy and say that, you know, she smokes a lot of meth, I wouldn't necessarily immediately dispute that. You know what I mean? Like, look, at the end of the day, obviously, I don't think she does do that, because she's a professional athlete after all, but she does have that kind of look. And I know that we're not supposed to judge from, like, looks these days. God damn, people. But it is, I don't know, it is fun. I did laugh. But look, I wish Lauren Murphy all the best. I honestly think that her corner owe her an apology. I think that she got beat down that she didn't need in that last round. And that's all I'll say on that, because I did allude to that earlier on. Either way, that one made me laugh. And Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivak, that's going to be not this weekend, weekend after. So I don't know, I'll figure out some more content to do in the meantime. But until then, if you could hit that subscribe button, it'd be massively appreciated. And as always, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.